Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another Pick a Card reading. We are taking a look today at what is your impact on other people? What impact do you have on other people's lives? Possibly how they view you. There's, I'm sure, lots that's going to come up under that umbrella of the impact that you have on people's lives. So, I have prepared an archetype card for each group. I have not seen them yet, but let me show you the rocks that I picked out to go along with the groups today. So for group one, let's focus. There we go. This is a rock that I think kind of looks like a flame. Has some orange tones in it. This is group one. These are all natural rocks that I found somewhere. Don't ask me where. This is a very bright white rock for group two. These first three are definitely all quartz. And group three, come on, there we go. Lots of colors intermingled here. Maybe a little rough around the edges, but still a lovely rock. And then here, the ultimate pebble. The definition of a pebble, if I ever saw one. That is group four. So timestamps will be in the description below. I will meet you at your reading, and before I let you kind of meditate on these four piles, let me just remind you right quick, if you'd like to book a reading with me, you can do so only via my website. I do not solicit via DMs or comments or anything like that. Please don't get scammed, okay? So take a deep breath and take a moment to see which group is calling you, and I will meet you at your reading. Hi, group one. If you chose this cute little rock, then this is your reading. We're going to set this right up here, and I'm going to set off your archetype card to the side. We're going to pull some tarot cards first. So I'm going to take a look at the impact that you have on other people. That can be lots of different areas of your life, but I'll see what comes up. I don't want to limit this. I want to leave it as open as possible. So Spirit, for group one, what is the impact that they have on other people's lives? Ooh, I love that. Look at that. You're a blessing already. What is the impact that group one has on other people? The Eight of Coins. And the Ace of Wands. Oh my goodness. I feel like you lead by example. I also think that you're a trusting person, and you trust that things will work out as long as you do your part. And that really inspires other people. And other people are like, damn, group one makes it look so easy. Like, how do they make it seem so easy? But you also create opportunities for other people. Yeah, you're very tenacious. And I think it's very inspiring to people. It's also very attractive to people. You might be somewhat elusive. I'm getting like this sense of, this is so random, but I'm getting like this, I'm seeing this setting of like an old Western movie where the town is just like a tiny little collection of saloons and stuff, and where this where you like ride through town and everybody's like, oh, there's something new, there's something exciting, there's something, oh my God, look at them. They are so like chic and so fine and so worldly. There's something where you come in, you impress, and then you disappear. Is that the impact that you have on people? Because I do think that you are a little bit defensive. Like oh, I think maybe you're a giver and you're not so good at receiving. This is also giving me this energy of, oh my God, what is his name? I'm completely blanking on his name, but from Parks and Rec, the woodworker guy. Is it Ron? I completely blanking, and it really doesn't matter, but that character, like he's very like earthly, he's very focused on what he can do to fix situations, and he's not very sentimental, and yet he creates a lot of a big sense of community for people. Very interesting. Let's keep going. Yeah, you're so inspiring. Oh my goodness, look at you. You're very, this is impressive. This is impressive, and then we have the Seven of Swords at the bottom of the deck, which tells me that you don't stick around for people to, I feel like you come in, you impress, and then you bounce, and you're like, you don't want the frills, you don't want the compliments, you offer people, the impact that you have on people is that you offer them incredible insight, and you show them how things can be done more efficiently, and you motivate them, and then you bounce. And then you're like, all right, bye. You're very like elusive. You're just like you're such a giver. You're such a giver. You're such a giver, and you don't want to. I think there might be something here about not wanting to receive as much because it feels like it creates attachment. And I think you'd rather like be unattached in some way because it gives you some kind of freedom. But the impact that you have on people is that they want to do better. They want to do more. They find your energy to be very insightful and very motivating. Let's take a look at your archetype card. Priest. Oh my God, if that's not fitting, because the priest is someone who stands before his congregation or their congregation, and they are these things. They are a motivational speaker. They are an emotional soundboard. They are very stable, and yet it's always made clear that they are somewhat removed. The priest is somewhat removed from the community, and yet the priest provides so much to the community. Fascinating. This says, facilitate spiritual commitment, serves as a channel of spiritual energy. Absolutely. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't channel, or I don't get, yes, you do. Absolutely. This Ace of Pentacles with this Queen of Cups, you are very much, you intuitively channel, and you may not be aware of it, but when you give people advice, when you give them motivation, there's something that you do very naturally that is actually straight up channeling. So the shadow attributes to this archetype are: violates the trust of your spiritual community, seduced by your own spiritual role. I don't see that affecting you too much. What I do see is, because we all have shadow and light attributes, what I do see is that part of your shadow attribute might be that mistrust, that you are so giving, but you don't trust to receive. And there's just this disconnect that you create. And possibly because in the past, whenever you did receive, you got tricked somehow. There's reasons, but still there's something where you keep a distance. And I also see, in terms of impact on others, you might be the kind of person that likes to donate like anonymously, or that likes to give things without receiving the praise. It's still same message that I'm getting. And for that, I want to say, if you are really going to be that hard-headed and not receive any praise from others, then I hope you better be praising yourself. The other aspect to this is the priest does, and this sounds kind of odd, but the priest does feed on the energy of his congregation, right? And so there is something about you. Make sure that you do receive something in exchange. Don't just give and give and give, because it will make you feel depleted. But the impact that you have on people is that you are very motivating. You lead by example. People want to live up to they want to live up to you. They see you as like some sort of inspiration or role model. But that can be very distancing, right? When people put you on a pedestal like that, when there's too much mystery, when there's too much distance between you and the people you're inspiring, that can create some feelings of loneliness, for sure. Let's pull some oracle cards. I'm trying to keep these sweet and short, but Lord knows I fail at that. Wisdom in play, and there's another one that wants to come out, so I will take it. Inner integration. Wisdom in play. Our intuition knows more than we do. Absolutely, you channel. The impact that you have on people is that you give them some kind of insight, some kind of wisdom, some kind of and especially with this priest, like, you channel. You are a conduit of some sort. Whether that is you act as a conduit between knowledge and average understanding, or spirituality and average understanding, or like even if it's like knowledge around cooking, or any kind of crafting. There's something where you are a conduit between two things, where one is typically less accessible to average people. And you make something more accessible, which is beautiful. And you don't really take credit for it. And then, like I said, we have inner integration. There is peace, equilibrium, and fulfillment in integrating the inner wild with the taming and tempering that life has on us. This is where I feel like you create some distance, and I think it probably comes from a place of control. You create distance between you and your congregation, whatever sort it is. And I think it comes from a sense of wanting to remain in control. And this is just a reminder that there are aspects in your life where you're not going to have control, where you have an impact on the world, and the world is also going to have an impact on you. You can't just have an impact on the world. You're going to have to face that the world has an impact on you, and that's probably a good thing. Not just probably, that is a good thing, because it helps you grow and mature and refine. Yeah. Let's see. What other... Oh, you know what? I'm going to use this little emotion stack. I want to see, what do you help people with? Because this is about your impact. So what emotions do you help people address? I also just realized I've forgotten to roll my dice. What emotions do you help people with? Helpless, yes. This is very much about you leading by example, because you're like, I'll just do it myself. Like, this is how you make it. You help, like, you literally help people help themselves in some sense. And hurt and discomfort. And self-critical. Oh. I think you are very self-critical. But you know what? You help people because even though you lead by example and you're so, I think people probably put you on a pedestal or on a soapbox. And yet you're just talking like from a self-critical standpoint, but that actually reflects back to people as them recognizing, oh yeah, I should think about these things more too. I should be self-critical in that aspect too. So in the ways where you're like, no, I don't deserve the praise, this is where people are kind of like, oh, that's a real like down-to-earth person, and maybe I should recognize where I'm doing things just for praise. That's really interesting. With hurt, this is standing out to me in a way where I think some of your shadow aspects, meaning you've gone through a lot of hurt and had to learn to help yourself, and that's really inspiring to people. But also because of that expectation that you set of like, well, everyone can just help, like just help yourself, right? That's where this hurt and discomfort together is giving me the sense of that's where the crux of the story is, because it seems like you haven't really mastered how to deal with hurt. You've just mastered how to set it aside and to distance yourself in a way where you avoid a lot of the hurt. Oof, this is heavy, sorry. But there's something about you, even though we're talking about your impact on other people, your impact on other people also includes working through discomfort and hurt by connecting with other people instead of distancing yourself from them. Hi. Ooh, I love this. We have the 11th house, we have Scorpio, and we have the moon. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so on point. Because the 11th house is our dreams, hopes, and aspirations, but it is also greater social networks. It is our friendships. It is online. And that's what I'm feeling. Like the 11th house would be a house of like a politician, right? Somebody who speaks as a conduit between two things. Absolutely. And yet there is that danger to remove yourself too far where you're not part of the whole anymore. And you're just like in between because you are that conduit. So don't let that control you. Try to tap into your emotions. The fact that we have Scorpio is very much like that hurt, that there's this like darker aspect, this mysterious aspect where you keep your distance. And it comes from a place of hurt in the past, possibly. But also the moon is very much connecting to this first row, speaking about when you really tap into your emotional side, you very much channel. You're very intuitive in your mission as a conduit. This definitely does feel like a mission. But it's okay, like, because it feels like a mission, it feels like you're constantly having to work when you're dealing with people. And I think there is something to be said about having your own social life where you don't have to improve, where you don't have to give them constantly, where you kind of have more of an equilibrium between that the connection of whoever this is, friendship, lover, family, where it's less about the mission and more about just enjoying your experience. That's what Spirit wants you to lean into more, because you are doing a really good job when it comes to your mission. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Actually, I was gonna pull one more, sorry. I just saw the time and I was like, no, I wanted to make these short. Okay, one last card for group 1. Yes, the impact that you have on people. We have spring. You know when spring rolls around and the flowers start blooming and all the animals come out, humans leave their house again and they're like, oh my God, it's nice out. And that's what you do. It's like just by natural observation, people are really inspired by you in some way. And there's just something that's very motivating about you. And even the fact that this rock looks kind of like a flame, and spring is very much Aries energy. Like I am getting very cardinal energy from you. It's just very much like, let's just get it done. I'm just gonna get it done. It's not I'm just gonna get it done. And everybody, you know, when sometimes when somebody is like cleaning around you and you get the sense of like, oh man, they're doing a lot, I should get up. All right, I need to get up and help clean. That's what this is. Like, this is the impact that you have on people. You inspire people to get up and do. But you're doing that because you're just doing. So that's very cool and very admirable. Keep it up. You are on a great path. I'm not too worried about the Seven of Swords because, like I said, that's like this distance that you create. You'll work through that. I'm not too concerned about that. So, yeah. I hope this was interesting, and I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 2. This is your reading. If you chose this bright white rock, we're going to set that up here. We're going to put your archetype card off to the side for now, and we're going to pull some tarot cards. So we are taking a look at what impact do you have on other people? What impact do you have on people's lives? Let's see what comes out for group 2. Ooh, we have the Wheel of Fortune. Ooh, we have the Judgment card. Very intense. Oh, what are you doing? Are you breaking hearts on the street? And we have the Ten of Pentacles. What? You're a very intense energy to come across, for sure. When it comes to the impact that you have on people, I think you might experience a lot of serendipitous moments, or people feel like when it comes to you, they experience a lot of serendipitous moments. Like somehow the impact that you have on people is meaningful in like a grander picture. Like, and a lot of times that might not even have anything to do with you. It might be something that you just haphazardly do, or like without realizing, like, I don't know, it could just be like very small things. Like you might be the bringer of awareness in some ways. Like it just seems like, I don't know, like it might be as simple as you wearing a necklace that says 222 on it, and you cross someone's path and they're like, that's my number. You know, like something as literal as that, but it could also be like you doing something in a way that recalls. That's why I'm trying to like say that it, in a lot of ways, it's not necessarily something that you do. It's just that you weave into like these moments of synchronicity for other people. It's very interesting. And somehow it alerts people to greater messages of expansion and of understanding, of You also, I think, create a lot of perspective for people. But I also do think that you break some hearts. I mean, the impact that you have on people is the Three of Swords. You know what? With this Wheel of Fortune and this Judgment card, I wouldn't be surprised if you have heavy Capricorn placements, and if you tend to be people's karma, but not like in a super negative sense. But it just might be that you bring in certain situations, and again, it's not so much that you actively create them, but it just so happens that the universe creates these scenarios where you end up being an equalizer. I hope that that makes sense. And especially with this Ten of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, ultimately you bring a lot of enrichment. But that's also not always easy, right? That's why I'm getting a lot of like Saturn energy, because Saturn will make us go through really difficult times. But as long as we do the work and stick with it and stick with who we are very handsomely rewarded for doing the work. And that's this energy that I'm getting from you. The impact that you have on people is if they are not worthy of your energy, if they misuse or mistreat you in any way, they get theirs and you get yours. You are, where was that from? Isn't that a term? Unfuckwithable? You're unfuckwithable. Tell me about this Wheel of Fortune. My lights just came on, just so you know. We have the High Priestess. What? You are intense. And even when this Wheel of Fortune first came out, I got the sense of, and I mean, I am a Plutonian, right? So I didn't say it because I was like, no, I'm just biased. But that was immediately what I thought. I was like, do we have a fellow Plutonian here? Because being a Plutonian really means that you have heavy aspects to your Pluto, that your Pluto is in your first house, that there's an aspect to your ascendant, that there's just, Pluto is just doing a lot in your chart, right? And it makes you, especially having it in your first house, especially when you have it conjunct your ascendant, Plutonians, they have an impact. They walk into the room and it's like, that person is kind of scary. And that's what I'm getting here. It's like you walk into the room and there's something very like, that person is a little intimidating and I would not want to fuck with them. In like a negative way, right? They probably do want to in a positive way. I love this. I love this because the impact that you have is like when you say something, you could, oh my God, I really love this because I strongly feel that this isn't anything that you are actively doing, but it's the way that the universe positions you. It's like you could say the most subtle little thing, and to you, it's like, I just said a little thing, but the room, the setting that you're saying it in is perfectly planned out in a way where a person that hears that, to them, it's like, boom, you like blew their mind somehow with that little thing that you said. At the same time, that can be taken into negative context when it's like you say a little thing and somebody, boom, takes offense to it and it hurts them, right? That's where we get this connection. But there's something where, you know, when somebody speaks into like a little microphone, whatever you say, like your opinions, they get magnified and people are just like listening. People are just like, whoa. And for you, you're just like, what? I just said a thing. Like, you don't even take it that serious, but the universe is setting you up in situations where what you say really has an impact. This is so fascinating because I don't think that you are fully aware of this. I think the universe really just places you, it uses you like a little mouthpiece, but like an adorable, like, I don't want to minimize you. I don't mean like adorable in like, oh, you're so cute, but just like in a quirky way. The universe will set you in a room and you're just you, but they like meticulously planned it out because they knew that you would create some kind of domino effect. And I do think that you sometimes offend people, but it's the people that need to be offended. I hope that that makes sense. Like, it's people that need to hear something that they won't hear any other way, except for someone that's just like passing by and being like, oh, I don't know that I would be doing that. It's very endearing from my point of view. I don't know that I would enjoy it if you made a comment about me, but I think it's like genius. I think it's genius the way the universe uses you. It utilizes you. Oh my goodness. See? I love this. You are like oh my God, we have the Two of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. You bring some kind of balance because there's something about you where you almost don't respect some kind of social norms or there's something where you're like, that doesn't impress me. And so because of that, you have like, it's like, imagine a room full of royals, right? And the royals are expected to be treated a certain way, and certain things would be offensive to them. And yet the royals are not good people, right? And I imagine you walking into a room full of royals, not recognizing them, so you don't know who they are, and so you don't adhere to the societal standard of like, hush and don't criticize. So you see something and you point it out and being like, oh, that thing over there is kind of inappropriate, right? And then everybody's attention being grabbed and being like, oh, we're being called out for this inappropriate thing, which is totally accurate, but it's really embarrassing because we never get called out. And by doing that, you bring some kind of natural order to things, because society creates like this really false order to things sometimes because it's forced. I don't know, this is beautiful. I'm also getting this vibe of, like, I'm imagining someone that's really snarky in the classroom and you actually bringing some kind of balance to a classroom, because just because a teacher is the teacher doesn't mean that they know everything, right? There's just something where you bring a very natural balance to things, and you bring it by questioning the things that people just naturally accept, the limitations that people are just like, oh, that's just the way it is. You question those things, and by doing so, you expand people's understanding and people's attitudes. You are a delight. You are such a snack. I don't know why I felt like saying that, but you are definitely intimidating to the right people. And the people that are like grounded and that are like well-meaning, they don't have to be intimidated by you. It's the people that are full of crap. Those people are intimidated by you for a reason, because you don't take yourself or them too serious, and that intimidates them. Wow, this is beautiful. I think you're great. I just turned this card around and it says Fool. I love this. Right, as I said, you don't take yourself too seriously. Fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. That is exactly it. That is exactly what I was talking about. Okay, that is the beautiful aspect, right? Now let's take a look at the shadow aspect of that, which says here, using humor to wound rather than to liberate, denial of your emotional truth. And that's what we see with this Three of Swords, that when this is working in your favor, love it, beautiful, delicious. When this isn't working in your favor, you can be somewhat offensive to people. You can be a little bit harsh. You can be a little bit critical. You can be too intimidating. I can see that. Honestly though, keep being you. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. I'm living it. I'm living it. I'm living for it. I just love this. I really love that the Fool came out, because you are meant to question things, and you're meant to, like, I'm telling you, you make the like smallest little remarks and people hear them as if you said them with a friggin' megaphone right into their ear. You make the smallest little eye movement and people are like, like, but you don't even think too much of it. You just naturally respond. You're just not holding back. And that is beautiful, because that is your nature, the universe picks you up and sets you in rooms full of people that need exactly that. They need that authenticity. And that brings balance into places that are completely out of whack. Beautiful energy. Beautiful. Ooh, we have women supporting women. Together we can transcend our individual limitations. I'm going to get one more of these. And we have metamorphosis. Power and strength lie within our surrender to change. Interesting. I'm going to roll my dice. Women supporting women. I noticed there's a 2-2 here. This, I think, has a lot to do with whether you are a woman or not, whether you identify as a woman or not. There is definitely something to be said here about your feminine energy that you have regardless of your gender or gender expression. There's something about your feminine energy that is very tapped in, of course, with this High Priestess and the Wheel of Fortune. But there's something where the metamorphosis, I think, the change has to do with you bringing more awareness to when you do these things, because like I said, I think for most of your life you just are being yourself. You're walking through life and you're being yourself, and sometimes people take offense to that. And there's something about a metamorphosis within your life that just leads you to understand why you stand out sometimes, why your words are so cutting sometimes. And then that awareness makes it more intentional moving forward in a good way, in a way where you can actually use it to support other people that do similar things, but maybe not as aren't as powerful as you are, because you're placed into these situations by the universe or by spirit. Like there's definitely like a road to awareness when it comes to this impact that you have on people, and how to use it for good and not for just making snide remarks, you know. That is to say, I think you're funny. I think you're hilarious. We have the 8th house, we have Pisces, and we have Venus. 8th house is definitely the house of transformation, so metamorphosis with this makes sense. It is a house of a deep coming together. And that's where I think, because the universe like utilizes you in a lot of ways, your journey to awareness around this is going to be able to actually redirect your intention in a way where you're able to co-create, and where you're going to bring more awareness to the power that you really hold, and really use it in a very powerful way, in a way that's very powerful in the sense of almost controlling. Like it's like when people say read the room, and you've always read the room, and you've just said things anyway, that kind of sense. And your metamorphosis is bringing you to a point where you're going to read the room and you're going to withhold information until you know it has the biggest impact. Like there's something more strategic about it and involving your intuition more, which is why we have Pisces and Venus. This could definitely benefit you when it comes to matters of making money, especially with the eighth house. Your career or something like that, where controlling that, not like controlling as in suppressing, but controlling and understanding it, bringing more awareness to this impact that you have, bringing more, again, control as in like, it's not so much suppressing a talent, but more so bringing strong awareness. You know, there's a difference between someone who goes out to go dancing at a club and someone who dances professionally, right? There's more intention in the movement, and that's what I'm seeing here. Like you're bringing more intention into this little superpower that you already have when it comes to your impact on other people. Okay, let's see. What else was I doing? I'm pulling some emotions cards, and this is to figure out what kind of emotions come up that you help people deal with, or that just kind of come up when you impact someone. We have acceptance, and then we have mad. And acceptance, I think, has a lot to do with this High Priestess and the Page of Cups, and it comes from a place of you say these things that are like obvious to other people, and you say things to other people that are very obvious to you, because like, why should you hold them in? And yet the social norm is like, no, you shouldn't say those things. And so you've had this play with acceptance, like what is acceptable to say, what is like, you maybe have always struggled with understanding social norms. That's a possibility, but there's definitely something of like learning what is acceptable and then learning how to manipulate that, which I think with the Fool, honestly, I think you're hilarious. Some of you are literal comedians, I hope, because that's what I'm seeing here, like this having a natural raw talent and then being able to really read the room and see, okay, what is acceptable to say and where can I push it? Because that's what comedy is about. Where can I push? Where can I create tension and release? There's a lot here that is giving me very like comedic vibes. Mad is also like about channeling the things that have made you angry in a way that is productive and acceptable. Like you may have had outbursts of saying things because you were mad, and people are like, you can't say those things, you know? Like there's definitely something about you learning about how to manage certain things that you actually want to release, that you want to let out. Acceptance come out with guilt, and that's where this is so interesting, because that's what I'm feeling. Like sometimes societal norms, or like what you can and can't say or can and can't do, sometimes I think to you are like, what, this is totally hypocrisy and this doesn't really make sense. But people will guilt you, because if everyone in the room looks at you like you can't say that, then they make you feel guilty, and then you feel guilt for you being you, and you've probably dealt with that a lot, and so you've tried to learn like where is the line of acceptance and what makes people angry, and when do they make me feel bad for what I said. But also at the same time, again, like I said, the universe puts you in positions where you say things that are offensive, but they're meant to offend the right people. And that, I think, causes some guilt within other people too. Like things you say can sometimes make people feel guilty. Like they were caught. They were caught some way. And last one, we have disoriented. That fits very well with this Two of Pentacles. And that's, I think, we have insecurity at the bottom of the deck. This has to do with you figuring out, like, what is right, what is wrong, where is up, where is down. There's something about this journey in life in general is very much about you figuring out, where do I stand? Even though I think you stand very firmly, it's the rest of the world that doesn't always make sense, that isn't constant. I think you, in your point of view, are very constant, and it's confusing because the world is constantly changing and adjusting, and there's always like, it's wrong to say this at this point in time, but you can say it here and you can say it there. There's something about societal norms being really confusing to you, and because of that, it disorients you at times. But this is a journey that you're going through. That is something that you're exploring more, especially with that Sun card at the bottom of the deck, like, or at the bottom of this reading. I think you're definitely working through that. Okay, let's get one last. Oop, and we have Transparent. That's exactly it. You're very, and look at it. We have another 2-2, 2-2, 2-2. Along with the High Priestess, which is also a 2. I think you are a very transparent person, and it's confusing to people because most people are not transparent. Like, most people are just, they don't say what they think. And I think you kind of say things on a whim, or you do things on a whim because it feels right in the moment. And then you make it clear, like, that wasn't like, you know, I don't know. It's difficult to explain. Like, I feel like you do something and then you're like, this isn't something I did to make a statement. It's just what I felt like doing in the moment. Like, you don't take things as serious. But that's just because you're also very raw and in the moment. So overall, the impact that you have on people is like I feel like you course correct people without knowing it. And I do think that they see that you are a very, like, genuine person, and that intimidates a lot of people. Honesty is very intimidating to people in general. I think you're doing great. I think you're hilarious. So keep at it. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose this lovely rock. Lighting has changed. It's getting dark out, so let's get into it. I'm going to set your archetype card aside. I have not seen it yet. We are going to pull some tarot cards to get an idea of what impact you have on people. That was an awful shuffle, but good thing I've already shuffled these before. As soon as I pick up the deck, I just immediately start shuffling. Doesn't matter how many times I've shuffled it beforehand. Okay, I don't know what that all was about, but let me get into this message. For Group 3, what is their impact on people? Do you make people flustered? I'm a little all over the place all of a sudden. Oh, yes, maybe. Queen of Swords. Oh, nope, that's too many. Oh my God, you do get people flustered, don't you? I'm getting a very impressive vibe, and kind of like a, this is a bit much, but like almost like Miranda Priestley, like, come on, use your words. Like, it's just very like, don't waste my time, please. I think people find you incredibly insightful. Wow. How do you do it? What? The Justice card at the bottom of the deck right now. We have the Queen of Swords, the Hermit, and the Fool. You are very... I think you're very creative in the sense that you, I think, reinvent yourself a lot. You really cause people to think before they speak. You have no, and I say this with kindness, but I don't think you're very patient. I think you kind of are just like, okay, get to the point. Come on, come on, yeah, come on, say it, say it. And because of that, people are very aware of how they come to you. They have to come to you correct. Especially with this Justice card too. You don't put up with stuff. And yet this Fool is very refreshing. You definitely show people, because I think you're probably a little bit abrasive, and trust me, I hate that word. But people might describe you as a little bit abrasive, but fair. And it's kind of like, you know, like my favorite teachers back in school were the ones who just got to the point and where it's like you knew what to expect and they were fair. And yeah, they might have been intimidating and a little bit scary, but at least they were intimidating and scary for everyone. They didn't have favorites, but they were fair because they were more concerned about the subject, right? That's kind of the energy that I'm getting here. It's like you are not the most patient person, but at the same time, it gets them like activated somehow. Like people straighten out their backs and they're like, okay, let's think about this a different way. Like how else can we impress this person? How else can we show up? Something about straightening out their back and just being like, okay, let's try a different approach. Interesting. Let's keep going. Tell me about this Queen of Swords. The Moon. Oh, I think you are very aware of people's shortcomings and the shortcomings that actually affect them. Like, I think you're pretty clear. You might have some kind of... The vibe that I'm getting here is almost like a therapist, but the kind of therapist that isn't like there to hold your hand, but that is like, okay, and how are we going to change this behavior? Like very much like, okay, this is where you're blocking yourself. This is like very insightful when it comes to like subconscious patterns and strong therapist vibes here. Understanding, you help people understand where they limit themselves because you have high expectations. You have high expectations in yourself, but also in others. And you're like, why don't you have high expectations in yourself? And that makes people like realize like, oh yeah, I guess I can do more. I guess I am worth more. What is up with this? You're very motivating. Your impact on people is very much... I think your impact is very motivating on people, but to some degree it's motivating in a way where they're like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Because they actually want to, because you come at people like sort of like very confident and very well put together and very like knowledgeable and very like very assured. And sometimes people don't like that. Sometimes people want to, especially if you happen to be a queen, and then people want to put you in your place. They think that you have a place, whatever, antiquated thinking. But still, people get really kind of riled up and they'll want to, but they also recognize that with you, it's like, oh no, I have to come prepared. What is up with this Fool and the Four of Coins? What is up with this Four of Coins? It's really confusing me. Because this Fool is you inspiring people to try something differently, to understand that there is more, that they can do better, that they can do more. And so then they try differently. And this Four of Coins is totally throwing me. Why is this so mysterious? Let me get a card for this Four of Coins. Just for the Four of Coins. Eight of Swords. So it is about where we're holding back, but this is about your impact on people. So I think your approach shows people, we already have that here. Why are they underlining that? It's the same message. Okay. We have the Two of Pentacles. Sometimes when I'm confused, which it's totally okay to be confused during a reading, totally natural, totally normal. But whenever I pick up the deck like this, it's because I'm literally just having a conversation with them. And so then I'm asking them, like, I was asking them, what's the point of giving me the same message twice here? And with this Two of Pentacles, it's telling me that the point of that was that in some ways that can be positive, and in other ways it can be negative. Like it's in the best of ways, you inspire people to go within themselves to deliver more. In the worst of ways, you scare people into submission. You scare people into not wanting to share their ideas with you out of fear of being rejected because they're not good enough, because you have high expectations. However, you have high expectations because you have high expectations in yourself. So why wouldn't you apply those expectations that you have in yourself onto someone else as well? But other people don't always live up to expectations, and they don't always acknowledge that your expectations are just a reflection of your expectations in yourself. And so they just see it as a potential to be rejected and to be judged in a way that would leave them hurt and actually more afraid to share again. And so there is the impact that you have on people, again, in the best of ways, is you inspire them to go within and explore and expand. But that inspiration is also inherently scary to some people, and so they rather not share with you at all. Oof. See, that's why it's okay to be confused sometimes and to ask questions and to double check, because that was worth it. We have the fourth house, we have Venus, and we have Scorpio. There's that intimidating energy. Scorpio and the fourth house. The fourth house is your foundation. I think you're very strong in your foundation. And there is something about being very comfortable in exploring the depths of situations, your foundation, the moon, subconscious, the unseen things. You're very comfortable in that realm. Not everyone is as comfortable as you are in that realm. So that is just a way to show that your impact, when received well, is beautiful. When received by an energy that is not as solid in their foundation, it's very scary and very intimidating in some way. But Venus shows me that this is something that you are very skilled at. It also shows me that this is something that might bring you financial abundance. So it could be quite literally that you are a therapist, because that's what I'm picking up on here a lot, that you're very skilled. I just heard keen, a very keen therapist. And, you know, sometimes especially when it comes to therapy, whether you are a therapist or not, if you are the therapist friend, sometimes you have to, not sometimes, you always have to wait for whoever you are providing therapy for to come to you, to seek out, especially with this hermit, to seek out advice. If you give unsolicited advice, you're more likely to fall on ears that are just not ready for it yet. So in order for people to get the most out of the impact that you have on people's lives, they have to seek you out, which there's a term for that in human design. Is it a projector? I'm not sure, but one of the human design types, and I only know this one specifically because I know it applies to me, but I don't study human design, so it's more like passing knowledge. So I'm pretty sure there's one where it's like, I think it is the projector. The projector has to wait to be approached in order to give advice. Otherwise, their advice will be wasted. It won't be appreciated. I'm going to turn this over now. Oh, we have Gambler. Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. Yes, look at that. The Moon along with the Queen of Swords. Knowing, really being very comfortable in the area that people are very uncomfortable in. But you trust your intellect and you trust your intuition enough to go down into the depths. And you're like telling you, the impact that you have on people is being like, no, you can really benefit from this. But to you, it's like, well, I know my skills, I know my expectations in myself, so I can go down there and I can come back up right so easily. Some people go down there and they can't come back up. And so it's interesting because I do think that you have this energy of Gambler, like we saw the Two of Pentacles, right? It's like, yeah, like you don't see it as a gamble though, because you're very sure of what you're capable of. So willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. And then the shadow attribute is relying on luck rather than hard work. I don't see that being an issue for you too much because I think you're so focused on your foundation that you do implement a lot of hard work. I just think that when it comes to other people, I don't think that you fully grasp how much hard work you do put in or have put in, and that not everybody is capable of doing the same completely on their own. And so it's like relying on like, well, yeah, everybody can do this, right? And there's people that very much cannot, and they just feel kind of slighted when they see someone like you doing it very easily, because that's the thing. It is this energy of a gambler, and you are at the poker table and you're doing amazing because you have skills and you trust in your skills, and other people then are just thinking about the odds being stacked against them and stacked in your favor, and you don't see it that way. And the other people at the table might not be as skilled in poker as you are. They might not be as skilled with rational thought or calculating numbers, right? There's calculating odds and stuff like that. There's things that you do very naturally that you don't really take full credit for because you just think like that's natural. And for other people, it's like, that's not natural. You have an advantage. So this is very, very interesting that we got Gambler with that. Let's pull some oracle cards. I do think it is beautiful that you really do guide people a lot. And you do so in a well-meaning manner with that Venus energy. And yet the thing that I'm here to tell you is that you cannot control. You can do your best, but you cannot control the way people receive that. It's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. There will be people where you have a profound impact because they are willing to follow you to the water hole and they're willing to drink. And then there are people that will be like, I don't get their deal whatsoever, because you tried to lead them to the water and they refuse to even follow you. So I think you are received by people on quite the large spectrum, where people are either like, oh my God, amazing, best counselor, best therapist, best teacher I ever had, whatever you do. And others are like, oh my God, the worst, would not recommend, but only because they weren't willing, they weren't ready, they weren't willing, they didn't trust. It takes trust to really benefit from your impact, I think. No? These cards are being so hesitant right now. Okay, taking both of these. We have radical self-acceptance and we have intention. I think this is beautiful. We have you are perceived the way you perceive yourself. Lacking personal direction begets confusion and life as a pawn to someone else's game of chess. And I think there's something to be said here about you really taking into account that, like I said, your skills are not normal. And not that they're not normal, you're not abnormal, but they're impressive. And not everybody comes with the same set of tools as you. And so radical self-acceptance means acknowledging your scars and how you've been able to heal yourself fully, and acknowledging the absolute treacherous work that required from you. And then moving on with intention is asking you to implement more compassion for the people that are not able to do that for themselves the way that you did, which is very impressive. So this is definitely asking for more compassion overall, but the impact that you have on people is also radical self-acceptance, which I think is this middle part where I talked about. If you are a therapist, you really help people to go inward and to go into the depths, and you guide them through that, and to recognize that there's a lot about themselves that they can recapture, regain. There's something about like taking it back and not just like throwing it out. There's something about where you really help people accept themselves as a whole. And it's just that some people aren't ready to do that, and so that's when they feel intimidated by you. Let's pull some emotions cards. These are going to tell me emotions that you either bring up in people or that you deal with. Like, it makes sense once I pull them. We have fear. And we have careless. This is interesting because I feel like, and afraid at the bottom of the deck right now, and I was just about to say this, this feels like the people that are too afraid to actually deal with what you're trying to make them understand. They might feel that your attitude is actually careless, that your attitude is somewhat harsh and cold, and, you know, like there's something where there's something about you where you have a very constructive vibe, but people are really looking for like more nurturing energy, and yet your energy is nurturing, but it's nurturing in a way of like, let's figure this out and fix it. That's your nurturance. And there are some people that are like, but I want to be nurtured with like, no, poor baby. Like, I don't know why I had to say it like that. That was really annoying, but that's what I'm feeling. Like, they want to be babied. and you are like, nobody babied me, I'm not about to baby anyone, we can do this, we can fix it, as like mature grown people. Like, I'm not here to hold anyone's hand, you know? We have ruminating. And we have focus. Interesting, because ruminating and focus are actually two very similar things. It's just that one has a negative connotation. Ruminating means keeping your focus on negative things and just kind of like, you know, bathing in them and not letting them go. And I think that's what you've learned throughout your life, is how to take your fear and how to take negative emotions and how to work and transmute through them and be constructive through your focus of like, okay, how can I fix this? How can I figure this out? And a lot of people lack this focus, and so then they get stuck in this cycle. And I'm not sure why people would think that, you know, bringing focus to a situation, I apologize for the sirens outside, why bringing focus to a situation immediately makes you kind of cold or careless or like, I don't know. It's just like, I think possibly, and this doesn't have to do anything with your gender or gender expression, but especially for women, if a woman steps more into her masculine energy, she is often seen as cold or heartless, you know, and it's like, no, we're just organizing our goals to be more like constructive. Like there's something where it's like, you're being, the impact that you have on people, on some people, they deny you any kind of softness, and then you probably get defensive in that, and then you kind of own the hardness, the abrasiveness, because it's like, well, if I can't have any softness, then I don't need it anyway. Something about that, that's something that we're working through here for sure. Okay, I need to wrap it up. These have been going on longer than I want them to because I cannot control myself. But we are pulling one last oracle card for group 3. Whoop, it went flying. Keep watch. And at the bottom of the deck we have rebirth. Keep watch. Interesting. I like that we have this snake imagery here. And also these birds that are like, what? You didn't come out of... This is exactly what I was talking about, of like people not having the same skills as you, or not having the same like point of view, even though you might think to yourself like, I'm just like everyone else. No, you're not, because look at these eggs. These birds were expecting a bird to come out of that egg, and yet there's a snake, which is threatening to them, right? But the snake really represents a lot of transformation, a lot of adaptability. Like there's something to be said about you just really, really adapting to the circumstances that you've had in your life and really taking a lot of accountability. And that inspires a lot of people to take accountability for themselves as well. But there are also people that, which has nothing to do with you, that just aren't ready to take that kind of accountability, and so they look like you're the odd one out, right? Like your expectations are crazy, or you're doing the most, or you are cold. Like they start projecting. So I'm here to tell you, don't worry about their projections. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. The people that are open to it, that are open to receiving this kind of inspiration, they benefit greatly from it. So don't let these kinds of people like weigh you down, because you are a absolutely holy being within your own right. Just because you're not a bird like them doesn't mean that you are not incredibly impactful and powerful. Like, just, yeah, that really sent me over the edge at the end here, and especially because we have these two people here and two birds. Like, I don't know, there's something there for some of you where it's like, I don't know if it's your siblings, but there's some kind of dynamic where there's a group of people that doesn't get you and they make you feel like you're the odd one out when you are actually, you might be the odd one out, but you're actually the one that's way more constructive and way more willing to work on things. And these people, it just intimidates them, and so they'd rather not deal with it at all. But like I said, for the most part, the people that are ready, you have a huge, profound impact on them, and they are better for it. So I love that. Keep doing you, keep shining, and I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 4. This is your reading if you chose this lovely pebble. I was about to say petal. It almost looks like a flower petal, like a cartoony one. I'm going to set this right up here. Lighting has changed because it is dark outside now. It happens so quickly. I'm going to set your archetype card to the side. I have not peeked at it yet. We're going to pull some tarot cards, and we are taking a look at what impact you have on other people. I've been getting some amazing messages, so I'm really excited to round this whole reading out with my lovely Group 4. For Group 4, what impact do they have on other people? What impact do they have? Ooh, okay. I will tell you that's the first Emperor. We haven't even gotten the Empress in the other readings. And the Star? What? What? Who are you? And let's see. And the Justice card. I literally just, what is happening? Who are you? I'm sorry, I really don't mean to be dramatic, but that is insane. Your impact on other people is the Emperor, the Star, the Justice card, and the Empress at the bottom of the deck. How is that possible? And I mean, how is that possible? Because this is very, I mean, you're literally giving daddy energy. The impact that you have on people is that you make them feel seen, you make them feel heard, you make them feel like they are in the presence of greatness. I will say the fact that we have the Emperor out first and the Empress is at the bottom of the deck kind of softens this energy a little bit, because I'm still going to pull cards, so it's not the complete bottom of the deck, but it's just a way of Spirit saying like, oh yeah, and also Empress energy, because this Emperor energy alone with this Justice energy would have made me feel like you are very like harsh and critical. But with this Empress, it just makes it more well-rounded, and it definitely gives me this sense of connecting with the Star, gives me the sense of you really making people feel like they're being acknowledged, like they're being heard and felt and seen, and you have this impact on people that is very demanding, but like demanding in a very embracing way. It's like meeting someone at a party and you expect to only make small talk, and then you come along and you're like, how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? You look a little bit anxious. Like you really are like, you cut to it. You're very parental, but also very active and decisive. Your impact on people is very impressive. Let's keep going. I want to get more details here for this Emperor. Oh, well, that does feel a little bit harsher, but we'll keep going. I want context. The World card. My goodness. You are very intense. Okay, but we have the Nine of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Okay, we're getting a little bit more of a picture. I think it's interesting with this Five of Coins because it does feel kind of harsh, but I think you are so generous. I think you are very generous. And it comes from a place of not necessarily, like, you're not very sentimental, it doesn't seem like, or you try not to be. It comes more from a place of duty, if that makes sense. Like, you feel like it is your duty to be generous. It is your, it's part of, for you, it almost feels like it's part of being a human being. You're very much like, I'm just doing my part. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people that are not doing their part, so that alone is impressive. I feel like you bring in an energy into people's lives that is somewhat, it proves to them what they've accomplished. And this is very specific, and I'm finding this extremely fascinating because throughout these readings, I've been seeing almost like different characters and players that come into other people's lives to bring in certain energies, right? And so your energy, I feel like it would come into someone's proximity when they have felt very alone and when they have felt like nobody's there. You come in and you provide some kind of support, but it's a very constructive support, so it's not very sentimental, but it's support that is very much like, look at, you can do this, like, you got this, look at how much you've healed already. Like, you make people understand something about cycles and finality and impermanence. There's something where you help people understand that there is a natural balance to things and that is bound to come around again. Like, I'm literally hearing what comes around goes around. I think you meet people when they are kind of in this energy of kind of like being really exhausted, and that's why we saw the Empress at the bottom of the deck, because that was gonna make me say parental, and I do feel that you have a very parental energy and actually a very fatherly energy. Like, I'm getting very strong this sense of the way that we're talking in like archetypes, right? Not stereotypes. So from a point of view, from speaking of archetypes, the mother is going to be a little bit more concerned about their child getting hurt, so they want the child to be safe. The father is going to be a little bit more concerned about the child having experiences and wanting to teach the child things and being like, well, you ran too fast, you fell down, you scraped your knee, come on, up we get. Whereas the mother is going to be a little bit more like, oh my God, my child is crying, this is hurting me, right? Not in centering herself, but like the empathy part, the connection between mother and child is just very different. Again, we're talking archetypes, not stereotypes. And so what I'm seeing here is that your connection to people is, again, a little less sentimental than if it were the Empress. And it is very much of like, it's an energy that is very trusting and that is very like, come on, we got this. Of course we got this. Sometimes you lose. This whole reading is giving me I'm getting like vibes from like the Wonder Years when like the dad sits down, and I haven't watched that in ages, but like, you know, or in any kind of like 90s sitcom where the dad at some point has to sit down with their child and explain to them how the world works. Okay, I got cut off by my camera for a second, but I don't think we didn't lose anything, so I'm just gonna keep going. So what I was saying is that this feels very much like the energy is very much giving father explaining how the world works. And that is actually really comforting to us. When you think about, again, the archetypal father explaining to the child, hey, this is how the world works, it kind of soothes the child in a very different way than a mother would soothe, because it gives us some kind of insight and some kind of hope that father knows, you know, there's something, there's an understanding there. Very interesting. I want to take a look at the archetype card. Look at this, King. Very masculine energy, along with this Emperor. The light attributes are enlightened, benevolent leadership, benefiting those in your charge. Absolutely. If you are in charge of people, like work-wise, I do see that you bring a lot of understanding to people through hardships and understanding of cycles and seasons. Like there's something where you're like very level-headed. The shadow attributes, excessive feelings of entitlement, rulership without restraint. And so the shadow attributes warn us about when we might be doing too much, when we are doing the most. And I think when it comes to you, the way in which this could negatively affect your impact on people is when you are being too hard on others, or when you are possibly when you are trying to give advice to people that didn't ask for it, or that are like not actually seeking out any kind of support in the way that you are really good at giving it. Then people can get kind of defensive, right? And if you do that too much, you end up being a king with no kingdom to rule, right? Especially with this Five of Pentacles. That can be really difficult when you don't have anyone to share your insight with. So definitely try not to alienate people that aren't looking for that kind of guidance, if that is an outlet, because I think that's a very natural energy that you have, this masculine guiding energy. If you are seeking an outlet for that, there are lots of ways in which I think you could really benefit a group, a community, projects where you really need to step into creating a space like that where you can provide these energies to flow naturally without you forcing them onto something or someone. Let's roll some dice. I think people seek out your advice in terms of like, what do you think? What would you do? I think you have a very level-headed energy, and a very like broad understanding of the world too, possibly well-read, and just like a very good understanding between possibly the metaphysical and the material world. Just like a very well-rounded person. We have the 7th house and we have Venus. I think Venus has come out in like every reading, or at least in 2 others. We have the 7th house, we have Venus, and we have Leo. Very fascinating. So the 7th house is the house of relationships, but it is also business partnerships. So I am seeing a lot of like work-related themes coming up here. If you are the boss somewhere, I think if you are not the boss somewhere, I think you're meant to be a boss somewhere. If you are the boss somewhere, there is just something to say about bringing some nuance into when you don't want to over manage, right? You want to make sure that you're supporting in a active way without controlling. This Venus energy is also indicating that this would be something, the impact that you have on people, in the sense of where you're a very good supportive parental kind of energy, would mean that I think you should be in a position where you are in an authority of some sort, meaning you should be compensated well for that. And then the Leo energy is really kind of about embracing that positive energy, that positive rulership. And it's so funny, I wish I would have said it earlier when I was talking about the supportive father, my goodness. I totally had an image of Mufasa in The Lion King. I wish I would have said it, because that Leo energy definitely recalled that image right now. So there's totally something about, when you think about Mufasa, you know, the way he's such a like an idolized father figure, because he was powerful but kind and wise, and there's a lot to say there about Leo energy being very it is a fire energy, which makes it focused onto itself, but it is also a very benevolent energy. It is also a very luxurious and very there's another word I'm trying to get to. It's an energy that's just very self-aware and just gorgeous. I don't know, there's something about like really enjoying the position that you hold, because you do deserve to have that kind of impact on people. Very interesting. You're very supportive. You're very supportive when it comes to people. I think you help people figure things out a lot. And without telling them what to do. You're not telling them, you're just giving them an opportunity to go through things. Like, you're oftentimes just, and I think that is like there might be a saying around that someplace, where the best kind of leadership is the leadership that really trusts the people to figure things out on their own. And I think you're very good at explaining certain things and then letting people figure it out from there. Very interesting energy. Let me pull some oracle cards. I love that King came out. I was almost expecting, because there is a Father card, I was almost expecting Father to come out, but King I think is also nice because it shows a little bit more distance, and the Father card I think would have been too sentimental for you. Look at that. We have Lantern, consciousness is light, which is very much about that deep understanding that you have. And you guide people with that understanding. And people look up to you, like they're like, how did you make this work? How did you get to where you are? Like, people really look up to, and even if you hear this and you feel like, what, I haven't made it far at all. There's something about your attitude, something about your energy that really gives that off. And then we have presence of absence. Hold what is absent in the presence of your love. This, I think, is very much connecting to what I was just saying about not controlling people into doing what you think is best, but supporting them in a way so they can figure out what is best for them. presence of absence. Hold what is absent in the presence of your love, trusting that things are going to play out the way they're supposed to after you've given your best. And in circles, clarity begins in the eye of the storm. Circles very much connecting to the world, and just underlining that fact that I think you really help people understand in a big way something about life cycles. And also with this card is also very much about life cycles. Very interesting. The impact that you have on people is very... And it's funny because I think sometimes it can be taken for granted, or it can be kind of like, oh, you know, the way you'd be like, oh, it's just dad, or oh, it's my boss. Like, you have that kind of energy where people are like, oh, it's so-and-so. They're always right. You know how people can get kind of frustrated with that? It's like, ugh, they're always right. They always figure it out before I do. But still they appreciate that, even if they act like that, you know, they really do appreciate the insight that you can offer them. They just get a little defensive. Okay, I'm gonna pull some emotion cards, and these are gonna tell us some emotions that people kind of deal with, or that you deal with when dealing with people. So let's see what comes out. We have acceptance. Yeah, I think you accept people where they are, but that also doesn't mean that you accept people where they're coming from, and yet you're like, okay, but we're going somewhere else, right? We're doing more. Like, you don't pressure people too much, but there is still an expectation of growth. We have ruminating. It's interesting, that came out in the last card, in the last reading as well. Ruminating. Ruminating is like the replaying of negative thoughts and emotions, and just kind of like being stuck in a cycle of that. So I think that's something where you help people to break out of that, because I do think that you have a very like productive attitude. And like I said, you have this attitude of like, what goes up must come down. What goes around comes around. Like, you're very aware of the seasons and cycles of the universe. And so I think, especially with this ruminating connecting over this card, it just feels like you help people get out of that cycle of lack mentality with this Five of Pentacles too. Patience. I love that. You are very patient. And trust. See, this is such dad energy. Acceptance, patience, and trust. Where else are you going to get that, right? Absolutely. I love that. Acceptance, patience, and trust are energies that people feel from you, and you help people through ruminating, and they trust your understanding. I don't know, I'm struggling saying that. Your understanding of the world. You accept them where they are at, and then you take them in and get them out of this cycle of ruminating, because you employ a lot of patience and a lot of trust. And you trust the laws of the universe, that things will balance themselves out, and that cycles end and new cycles will begin. Consciousness is light. Beautiful. Let's get one last oracle card, and then we're closing this out. There is a lot of masculine energy here, but like I said, we did have the Empress pop up as well to kind of remind us, like, you are a well-rounded person. It's just this is kind of the main energy that you carry into connections. And so having a lot of I think you have a lot of healthy masculine energy. And I just want to underline that that doesn't mean that you have to be a man. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, regardless of our gender or gender expression. So what I'm seeing, the impact that you have on people is that you offer a lot of very healthy and grounded masculine energy. And I think that's really beautiful, because I'm sure that the people that are drawn to you are in need of that, because they weren't able to find that within possibly their home or within, their life story. So people that are drawn to you might be in this place of really being down and out and really needing someone to tell them, like, hey, it's fine. You know what I'm also getting, and I haven't watched that in ages either, but it's also along the same lines of just 90s shows, is Mr. Feeney, right? The teacher from Boy Meets World. Just somebody who can, like, sometimes make sense of things, even if they're not the most sentimental character. And we have the magic within. Come out and then learn. The impact that you have on people is you really put things into perspective for them, and they learn a lot from you through that. And you have a lot of wisdom that you carry. And again, I think that has a lot to do with the cycles, your understanding of cycles and your understanding of balance. And that is something that you carry within you, and you release that intuitively into your connections, whether that is business connections or romantic connections or family. That is the impact that you have on people. Your magic within is a light. We saw those lanterns. We saw the star card is a light that helps people kind of redirect their focus. It's almost like a lighthouse. You have very much a lighthouse energy. That is so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this resonated, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.